Do you have any personal words of wisdom that you would like to bestow upon people who are watching this? Like any general words of wisdom from what you've learned with your vast CAP experience? You've earned your Earhart, you have a lot of qualifications with ES, you're a teacher, you love doing cyber patriot stuff. Like any advice?
My advice for just anyone, even cadets or seniors, take advantage of the activities that come up, because that's how you learn, that's how you make friends in this organization. And as you make more friends in the organization, you can get kind of far, because you may be friends with someone on wing staff, and maybe they might ask you in the future, hey, do you want to be on wing staff? And those opportunities can just be awesome. You can learn just by even visiting with others, learn their experiences, understand how long they've been in Civil Air Patrol. So
I like it. Go take advantage of opportunities and put yourself out there. I like it.
yeah, just even though you might be shy, just try and get to as many, just get out there and learn. It's it's just that the experiences I have obtained just in Civil Air Patrol in general, my leadership skills have grown so much just because of this whole program. And you can take what you learn in Civil Air Patrol and apply them to what your future, even like job interviews. Like your experiences in Civil Air Patrol are helpful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Was there anything else we wanted to discuss today that I may not have caught? Or did you want to say anything specific?
No, actually, this kind of feels a lot like a video podcast. Maybe, it should be, maybe the name should have a podcast within it. So, like, I don't know, cadet or CAP member podcast. I don't know.
Capcast.
Yeah, that would work. I don't know. But yeah, this seems a lot like a cool podcast.
Yeah, I agree.
It goes like back and forth. Like I felt like as we were talking, I was even learning about experiences you've got too. Kind of just goes both ways. Which is I find really cool about this chat. So.
Yeah. I like this chat so far. So, if there is anything else we could discuss, is there like a specific thing with like encampment or NCSAs that you wanted to discuss?
I mean, I've pretty much talked a lot about the NCSAs that I've wanted to. I mean, I guess if you go to some activities, just letting you might not get along with all your flight members, and that's okay. Just try your best, and also try and understand their viewpoints. And if let's say that you're trying your best and someone still tries to put you down, like if someone says something mean to you, chances are just say that's not you. So like if someone said something to me that was mean, I would just assume that what they have, it's their problem, not mine, because I can only control myself. I can't control what they do. So if someone is mean, chances are it's probably something that they have wrong, or with them. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. So just know that, try not to take it to heart what they say if it's not nice. But that's how you gain those leadership experiences too, is just through those experiences too that seem negative, but you can learn so much at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I had a couple flight members at Blue Bray that were not very nice, but eventually I just was like, I don't care what they're saying, that's their problem. And I'm gonna, you know, find out what's best, or try and look at what is positive around my flight staff. I thought were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other people with different flights, you know, I really like that Blue Beret. I was able to visit with other people from other flights, you know, and have that opportunity and realize, you know, that it's, you know, it's a great atmosphere as well. So, that, yeah, if you have a problem, and just try and say that's, you know, their problem, not yours specifically. Because, you know, there's, you know, logical fallacies, you know, that people commit, like ad hominem,
Mm-hmm.
where, you know, they attack the other person,
Yeah.
and chances are it's that they have a problem with their own self, or, yeah, it could be that they're jealous, or, yeah, they just don't believe, or they don't want to believe what you said or something, even though what you said is true. At that point, it's whatever they said is, or at that point, it's their problem, not yours.
Yeah, and I think if you're in some kind of leadership role, then you can kind of intervene on those kind of situations. Like sometimes I have seen where there are cadet staff members that aren't getting along, like whether it be at a unit or whether it be at an activity, and then I would have a discussion as to why and try to find the source of that and see if there's anything that I can do personally to try to overcome or mitigate whatever is going on. So if someone is like very upset about a specific situation, then I could always serve as that kind of buffer between the two people as they have a discussion, or to just kind of like speak for the other person, saying like this is how they perceive the situation and there was just a miscommunication, so let's try to take these steps to try to overcome this conflict. And typically that can help resolve things that are going on, because like as you said, you can't just let people bring you down if they start to say, oh, you did this thing terribly, or if they're attacking your character. Like sometimes it's just something that they personally need to overcome, and all you can do is push past it and be like, I will strive to be better, and though I will take your criticism and understand that this is where you're coming from, this is my perspective, and I still want to achieve and succeed.
Yeah. And also, like, when you ever have a problem with someone, try to also view it from their shoes and not, you know, yours personally. As that's a great way to figure out, you know, how to solve a problem in itself. Like, if you got someone, you know, jumping in and you don't want them just constantly jumping in, I mean, you can say, you know, hey, thank you for the help, you know, I appreciate it, but, you know, if I need help, I'll let you know. You know, saying something like that, you know, at that point you're not, you know, hurting them, you're appreciating what they're doing, but, you know, kind of just, it's that you're allowing to speak from their perspective, but also your own as well. And that's what's definitely needed in solving a problem, is understanding both perspectives.
Mm-hmm. And that almost reminds me of like recognizing people's service and like rewarding them, so to speak, because I know that there are a lot of different awards. Like you can give people achievement awards, commander's commendation, meritorious service, depending on how much of a big deal they did something. And by like doing Cadet of the Year award and just like those small recognitions for what they have accomplished, by just saying, you did a phenomenal job putting together this cadet staff selection exercise, I'm going to give you an achievement award, and like suggest it to the wing staff that we approve it, and then you get to wear a ribbon for it. And that can mean a lot to members, even if it's like small actions, like just taking note of what people do and how much care they put into what they're doing can go a long way to increase retention rates and also the quality of the program, because people are like, what I'm doing matters to someone, so I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing and put my best effort in, which I think is really awesome too.
Yeah. And then also, what I find very important in civil air patrol is, you know, delegation. Of course, understanding like what, you know, if it's like, if you trust that cadet, it's very important to give them tasks and delegate tasks, so that way they can become future leaders. And what I'm talking about with delegation, I'm not talking about, you know, oh, you delegate something and then it goes away, they work on it. No. Delegation is about, giving them the task, but also mentoring them that task.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say, oh, do this, but then they don't understand, and then eventually, a month or two later, hey, how's this task going? They'll be like, what task are you talking about? They forget because they don't understand. And so, delegation is very important, and but you can't just delegate everything either, because if you delegate everything, I should say that with delegation there needs to be a balance, because you don't want to, delegate too many things that they get where they're like, I got so much tasks to do. But, you also have to be careful of what delegation that, maybe you have to help them out, take some of the burden on their tasks as well.
Oh, yeah. I think it varies between what positions you're in that, like, kind of determine the degree to which you might delegate. So, like, if there's a unit commander, they're not going to run all the activities. They're not going to put together the agenda and teach all of the classes. That's just way too much work for one person. So, like, something like the mnemonic that I've come up with delegating is DAF. You know Daffy Duck? It's like DAAF instead of DAFFY. Like I say, you define the task, you assign it, you give authority, and then you follow up. And, like, use those steps to kind of, like, make sure that, like, people clearly understand what your expectations are. Because I know, like, a few times in the past, I would be given a task, and I would be delegated it, and I would say, okay, so I need to figure out why people aren't responding to emails. Okay, I got you, ma'am. I will do it, and I will have fun. I'll make these little rocks, and I will ask all the cadets, what is your favorite color? And I will paint a little star on the rock of that favorite color and say, you are a rock star communicator for everyone who responds to my emails, to kind of, like, motivate them to respond. Yeah, and after I told the person who I was delegated the task, this is what I've done so far, I'm really excited, and a bunch of cadets responded, I was told, who gave you the authority to do that? And then I was like, wait, you gave me the authority to do this task, and I thought I could take these actions in order to execute what I've been delegated. And the expectation of what authority I was given was not clearly communicated, so I misinterpreted what the expectation was, resulting in a bit of tension between me and that superior, because, like, I was doing what I thought was required of me, while they had a different thought, and they were like, well, you probably should just communicate with the cadets in person, or something like that. I was never clear on it, but just, like, having that experience, I was like, okay, if you're not assigning expectations on what kind of actions you can take, or, like, who you're allowed to communicate with, then it can get muddied up in the waters, and, like, whoever has been delegated that task can just be confused on how to do things.
Yeah, and then also, if we lived in a world where there was no delegation, I mean, first off, people higher up would be feeling burned out.
Oh, yeah.
The people below will feel like, why am I here? What am I doing here? I don't feel important, I'm not learning anything, because there was a time in my squadron where I was a flight commander, and my superior didn't, delegate anything. And so at that point, what I felt like for that whole term was, I felt, I was just there for opening and closing.
No.
Formation. And, but, it took me a while to figure that out. But, but because of that mistake that my superior did, I was able to learn a lot, and that's how much I learned about delegation, is through that. And, through, people, you may not agree with the leader of what they're doing, but you can also try and look at what their mistakes are, and you can even learn from them as well.
Definitely.
And, yeah, and that's probably another way I don't know if you've ever thought of that, or if other people have thought about that, but, just next time if you're ever, like, in a problem, or you have an experience where you just don't agree with what the superior did, or that it wasn't a good idea, maybe try and learn from the outcome and also what happened. And, leadership goes both ways. It comes, there's, leadership, I'd say, comes from all directions. Like, you learn from your followers, you learn from your mistakes yourself that you commit, and it's okay to make mistakes as a leader. That's how we learn. That's, one of my favorite quotes, I don't know who it's from, but I know that one of my mentors that I look up to said, the people who succeed in life are the ones who learn from their mistakes. And, if you think about all the millionaires, I'm sure they created a lot of mistakes, like, by all means. That's how they've gotten to the top, is they've learned from mistakes that they've, created. So,
I think that combined with perseverance helps push them further and beyond just, like, accepting failure and just sitting with it.
Yeah. And me as a leader, I've even screwed up. I'm not afraid to admit it. And, as a leader, you gotta also take on, mistakes that you've done. I mean, the best leaders are the ones who admit their mistakes, because they are then more true to themselves. And, a lot of people will respect you for acknowledging your mistakes.
And I think a big piece of leadership is also empowering your people and giving them the tools they need to succeed. Because you had mentioned earlier, like, if someone doesn't understand how to do a task, they're not going to do it. So just, like, giving people the resources that they need. Like, I know I was a cadet and now I'm a senior member, so I can speak a little bit to both sides. Like, some senior members, they come in with no CAP experience. They have no idea what it is. And then they're like, what's a specialty track?
Yeah.
And I say, I got you. Let's have your level 1 discussion. And then I walk them through, like, the different specialty tracks and stuff and put together a new plan of action for members so that they know the steps that they can take in order to improve themselves. So just by empowering people and showing them how they can grow through those steps and setting up those little milestones, like, we have milestone achievements so cadets can work their way through the program, and just, like, having that in all aspects can really get people excited and motivated to do stuff, which I really enjoy seeing people progress and improve.
Oh, yeah, it's, amazing, and especially, like, those below you, like, if you see, just this, like, past term, just recently, I've had cadets below me. By the way, I'm cadet deputy commander at my squadron. Or I guess they've changed it now to cadet deputy commander for operations.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's very rewarding to help those that are very passionate about Civil Air Patrol, wanting to continue to improve themselves, and those that, are excited to be there. And those people are just what gives even your superiors just energy, and they understand, what you're doing can help. And also, as a superior myself to some people, I love it when I get questions when they don't understand something, because, I feel like that does take a lot of guts, for them just to ask a question. And, also, with being up there in leadership, you also need to somehow provide that transparency there too. That's very important, because without transparency, it makes an environment that's just, or without that transparency, it doesn't make a great environment. It makes it feel like, very welcoming per se.
Yeah.
And we need to have, as leaders, welcoming environments. And so, yeah, I find transparency very important.
And I think part of that is, like, if you're on the command staff, putting together some kind of strategic plan of where you want the squadron to go. Like, Civil Air Patrol came out with one recently for, like, 2020 to 2024. And they're like, these are all of the things that we want to accomplish over the next 4 years. And here's how we're going to measure how we do. And I think putting that on a unit level and just having those steps clearly laid out of, like, this is what we're doing now, this is where we want to be, and here's how we're going to do it, can really establish trust with the unit, because people are like, yeah, this is something I can get behind. And you give them a chance to give their input because, like, I'm not going to put together the plan or, like, the strategic goals for the aerospace side without talking to the aerospace officer or the aerospace staff. Because it's like they have very meaningful input and experience that can really help support the squadron. And they know where they want to go, or at least in theory, they should know where they want to go with the program. So just by communicating and just asking people for their input, in addition to just being open-minded to their feedback, can really establish that trust and respect in that environment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Kind of going on with what you said, accepting others like ideas, even from your subordinates. I find that very important to ask your subordinates, hey, what do you think of this? Do you have ideas for this? And even like asking them, hey, do you got any squadron goals, or what changes do you want to see in the squadron? Even asking your lowest people those questions, you can understand where they're coming from, and how your actions up top reflect, the bottom, because leadership starts, kind of at the top of what atmosphere you want to create. But also leadership does come from every direction, like those, that are at the same level as you, those that are lower than you, those that are above you. Even like command and support, they work, together. Without a support, you wouldn't get as much done, and then without a command, you wouldn't get as much done either. You need both.
Yeah.
In a squadron or activity to get things done and, work together. So leadership comes from, definitely all directions.
And what you're saying reminded me of when someone approaches me with like a problem that they have. They're like, ma'am, this is a problem. And I'm like, okay, how would you solve it? And they're like, what? Wait, I have to come up with the solution now? And I'm like, no, I would just want to know, how would you approach the situation? And we can discuss this more, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Because if I just give you the answer, you don't learn as much from it. And my solution might be different from yours. So I want to know how you would like to resolve it, or how you would like to proceed. You give me your recommendation, and I'll let you know what my thoughts are. Give you some feedback, and we can work together to kind of, well, I don't know, do the fine detailing of it, and then implement whatever solution that is. Because, like, if someone is, like, if a flight sergeant has an issue and you're, like, the cadet commander or the deputy commander, then, like, you may not have that same insight on that situation. So I always enjoy challenging people to kind of recommend a solution instead of just coming to me with problems, because that helps with delegation of tasks, and that also gives them a chance to do some nice problem solving.
And also, even like with you could have like, I've done that too, where, I've had a problem and I've gone up to someone, and more specifically, like one of the senior members that I really look up to in my squadron, which, having that senior, being able to go up to a senior that you trust is, I think, very important, because, they've had more experiences in life, just because they've been around longer. And a lot of the times too, they can also ask you questions that you wouldn't not have thought of. You can try and even get from think about even the other person's perspective too, a little bit differently as well. It can reshape the whole problem. So you look at the problem in a different way by asking someone, and it's okay to ask for advice, or like how to like get advice on, or get feedback on how you would solve it, and that's how you grow, definitely, as just a person leader.
Yeah. I'm glad we're on the same page on these things. And that's being several states apart doesn't mean anything. Yes! Question. Have you ever used Control F on your tests?
Yes, I have. I've done it. But what I do is I usually read through them. I actually fill out the objective questions.
Okay.
It's just, like, I've read the book. I don't just go take the test straight cold and use Control F. Like, no, that doesn't work well. It's just, even with aerospace, you have to, like, learn learning this stuff is important, and leadership even is important because our leadership books talks about people's experiences, like John F. Kennedy or Ronald Reagan, even our like very important people like
Spock and Yoda, yeah.
yeah,
Important people.
even if it's fiction like Star Wars, I mean, you can like learn a lot even from those. Learn a lot from that too. So, yeah.
That concludes our 2-part series with the fabulous Cadet Captain Daniels. A round of applause. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you joining me here. And, ma'am, did you want to share links or anything with anyone who's interested? You wanted to share the Go Civil Air Patrol link so people join, right?
Well, it's a great way to find squadrons that are near you and look into it. I mean, isn't the point of these to like find out what you like about Civil Air Patrol? Get you interested.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a link down in the description for people who are interested in joining. So thank you, ma'am, for joining me, and we'll see you guys maybe in the future. Bye-bye.